Okay, probably the reason why people don't do videos on thickness and why so many people have questions about this is because it's hard to show you on camera how small this is, how thick you should be going. Okay, if you get a ruler out, you want to use the side with centimeters on it. A millimeter, when you're reading this, here's a 1, this is centimeters. So your millimeters are these little ticks before you get to the centimeter. The skin on your eyelids would be somewhere over here. Now the skin on your back would be over here. So you can see that you don't need to go very far with your needle. And there's a range. It could be anywhere between these two marks. When you're tattooing, you need to be like a ninja. Your needle is the ninja. Here's the skin. You want to get into that skin, into that second layer, and then back out again before you damage this skin too much and before the skin even knows you're there. The least amount of trauma, the better. So if you go too deep, you're going to cause more trauma. You just want to go the correct distance, but not too far. This will scar up. This will cause a lot of pain for your client. This will just make all kinds of bad things happen if you go too deep. You just want to go deep enough and then get out before the skin knows you're there. And then what happens is you leave this pigment in here, and this top layer will heal, and then you have a nice clean tattoo because this pigment will stay in here. If you go past this layer, this pigment will travel, and instead of staying in one place, it'll get fuzzy and give you a big fuzzy line, and it'll move around. This layer is pretty consistent, and your ink will stay put. So that's where you want your ink. Get in, get out, don't cause a lot of damage. Your skin will heal up and this ink will stay here. If you cause too much damage, all this skin dies and all this ink falls out. You get nothing because this skin will replace itself and you will have no tattoo in there. It'll just push that ink out. The ink will come out with the dead skin. So you want to leave this skin nice and healthy so that it will heal up and hold on to that ink like the skin won't even know the ink's there. While you're tattooing, you need to observe your tattoo. When you first start off, you need to do a little test line. If you go in and you do your test line and you get this really ghosty image, no matter what you do, it's still kind of light. You're not going deep enough. You're not going thick enough. This is going into the top layer of skin, and that's going to fall out because this top layer of skin will heal itself and replace itself, and you will have no tattoo. Over time, you'll get a really light tattoo like this. This is how you know people have not gone deep enough to get that tattoo into the correct spot. This tattoo heals, and this is what you get. Now, If you have this problem, what you want to do is, if you're using a coil machine, you turn up your voltage a little bit or adjust your needle depth. If you have a rotary machine, you just adjust your needle depth. Turning up the voltage won't correct this, it will just make it run faster and chew up the skin faster. So let's say you adjust and you go back to tattooing, and this time you get this. You get a nice clean line, a nice solid black line, and everything looks good. So then you know that you are at the correct depth. So it's always better to go a little too shallow than it is to go too deep. Let's say you start tattooing and right off the bat your needle is too deep. What will happen is you will go into that third layer and everything is going to fuzz out. What you're going to see is a lot of blood coming out, a lot of seepage from the tattoo. Fluid's just going to be oozing out of there, and your image is going to look fuzzy. And that's because the ink is going too deep. You're getting into the area where there's a lot of blood and a lot of fluids that are going to come out, and this ink is just going to travel and it's going to look really fuzzy. A brand new tattoo is going to look like a really old tattoo if you do this. Now, this is almost impossible, if not impossible, to correct. So you don't want to do that. If you go too shallow at first and you get this, you can always correct this, because you get that effect and then you just come in and do it correctly, and you can get a nice clean looking tattoo. This way you can't get rid of this unless later on you come in and you tattoo over it, but you just turned your tattoo into a big old blob. Can't fix it, so that's how you know you're going too deep. But it's better to go shallow first and then adjust your machine to the point to where you see it's tattooing correctly. Every time you do a tattoo, you should look at the tattoo and see what's wrong with it and try to improve the next time you do a tattoo. Let's say you do a tattoo and you're using like a 1 round liner or a 3, and you do this tattoo and your outline looks like this. That's really wimpy outline. With a really thin needle, it's really hard to get a nice clean outline without it looking shaky. So if you outline a big tattoo with this little needle, it's going to look bad. It is a lot easier to come in with a 7 round liner or a 9 and get a nice solid line in there. So all you guys who are trying to do these tattoos with these really small needles, just go up to a larger needle and your outline will look a lot crisper. It'll look bolder, it'll look better. Now let's say you are using a 9, but you come in here to do an outline and it looks something like this. still really shaky. The reason for that is either your needle is moving up and down, you need to put a rubber band on it, or it's your hand. Sometimes you'll get this, missing spots, you did your outline, but you still get this. It's your hand movements. Your hand's not steady. You're not keeping your hand and your depth steady. You need to stay the same distance and the same depth for the whole outline. If you start getting this kind of stuff, you're going in and out of the skin, so your hand's going up and down. And if you're getting this stuff, your needle's wobbly, your hand's moving around. So if you see your tattoos are looking like this, you need to make your adjustments so that you get a nice solid outline like this.